Before I start my poem, I wanted to tell you a little bit of background about my master's research on female infanticide in Panjab. Female infanticide is defined as killing a baby girl within 1 year of her birth. And my research looked at this issue from a historical perspective and then how it continued on into the present day in Panjab and how it's continuing to increase. Earlier this year, I sat and I spoke to my grandfather one evening about my master's research, and he seemed sincerely interested, but then he went quiet. And then he began to tell me stories of his elder relatives and village members that he knew, and some stories that he had heard of. And he told me the story of one of his elder relatives who had 2 daughters, one aged 5 and one aged 7. And one day, this relative, he woke up the 2 daughters and told them to get ready in their best dress, and they were going on a trip to Gurdwara, the one with the 84 steps. The 2 girls got ready with excitement, they put on their best clothes and they began their journey, which eventually led them onto a long dirt road alongside a river. And the girls, they happily skipped down the road, and then the father pushed the 2 girls into the river, neither of them able to swim, and they both drowned to death. And the father then continued on to the Gurdwara, sat there and relaxed as if nothing happened, did his part, returned home, and he said the deed was done. My grandfather then told me of another story he had heard which occurred in a nearby village. A woman had become pregnant, and the family and the local community waited anxiously to find out the gender of the baby. And when the baby was born, and with the realisation that it was a baby girl, they strangled her to death, crushing her throat, and then they dug a ditch at the back of their farm and stuffed in her body. And soon after, dogs had dug out the body and they consumed it. And my research was looking at these issues, looking at Panjab and why female infanticide was occurring and still is occurring, and how this situation has now become more complicated because of sex-selective abortions, and why has it become such a normative practice in Panjab. So I completed my research over the summer, and then I formulated this poem called Queens and Corpses to try and reiterate these issues. So here's my poem, Queens and Corpses. It says from her, kings are born. She is a creator, and it is through her that life evolves. She is our caretaker. Yet thousands of little girls were never given such a worth. They've been cut to pieces, abandoned at their very birth. And before she sees the world around, buried alive, kicking, screaming in the ground, and before she can take her very first step, and before she can breathe her very first breath, drugged with opium, strangled, some thrown into the flame, some stuffed with their own faeces. Her female body and her female mind are all there is to blame. Dowry. Why burden ourselves? We shall have sons upon sons upon sons. Our name will last forever, and he shall look after us, all of us together. And he can take our land, inherit, and all shall be divine. And those corpses of those baby girls, they'll disappear with time. Underneath that land that they hold so dear are thousands of infant girls with no voice left to hear. Ratios, censuses, statistics, they are all showing one thing. Where are the missing daughters? What shall these generations bring? Female infanticide is a topic left for whispers. And we cannot just blame the men. It is also the mothers and the wives and the sisters. To a woman, a man is bound, so why call her bad? From her, kings are born. From a woman is born. Without a woman, there would be no one at all. Our Barney cries these words to us. So why do we treat our daughters as if they are worthless? And I can stand here with my cash down my back and my God on my right hand because my father and my mother said I'm the same as my brothers. But where are all those missing daughters of Panjab? Those lost daughters of Panjab? 60 million. 60 million missing girls of India. That's almost the population of our land here. Does that not create any fear? Fear of an unbalanced gender ratio resulting in this hyper-masculine Indian society, more extortion, more distortion, more disproportion, more rape, more kidnapping, more sex-selective abortions. There's only one way that this can end. There's only one way that this can stop. We must change our views on women. This paradigm must drop into the sea of blood that this paradigm has caused. Continue on with equality from the place that it has paused. Please remember that females are not a burden. Females are not a cost. Else blood will stain the lands of Panjab with the daughters they have lost.